Hi guys, how you doing again? Listen, we're going to have a very long introduction to a subject matter that you may not care about at all, okay? I really want to let people know that I appreciate the fact that if I were to be if I were to be a subscriber to my own channel, right? I really do feel as though I'd hate the experience. I'd be pissed off with it because I know that, there's certain things that I do here that a bit of a particular stripe that people find very interesting. And there might be things that I do that people are not interested at all in, okay? But my master plan is this, is that I just plan on being myself on the internet, okay? I understand that if I had a different channel, if I subdivided, had one channel for just the conspiracy theory or the New Age stuff, one channel for this and one channel for wackiness, that might be easier for the viewer, okay? But this is not an anti-viewer statement. I'm not trying to make your life harder, right? But I'm not trying to be commercial. I'm not trying to grow this channel, in that way. I'm not trying to be a success on YouTube, right? Or, grow the channel in a sort of like contrived way. You know what I mean? I'm not trying to promote it. You know what I mean? I'm not trying to make it easy. And really what I'm trying to do is just be, myself, and like anybody, there are shades, right? There's this aspect of my personality, that aspect of my personality, and a million different aspects in between. We're going to have a very long intro to a subject matter that you might not care about at all, okay? What I'm trying to do is find different ways to communicate, and what I'm trying to do is just be myself, okay? And like I said, I've said it before, this is not an anti-you statement. This channel really is for me, and so whatever content I choose to put on it, that's the content that's going up, okay? In the future, we might even have music, we might have different things going on. It's just the way that it is. Believe you me, I appreciate it. And I also appreciate that there's a lot of people that might get, excited about me doing or covering different particular subjects, and to them, it might be particularly frustrating to see a new CW Chanter video pop up and say to yourself, he's going to do Stuart Swerdlow? Oh, who's he going to fuck up the ass this time? Oh, no! Avant-Garde Music Appreciation Day. Oh, how I really feel about Philip Glass? Oh, no, that's not what we wanted. That's not what I wanted. I wanted something else. Okay? Sometimes it's a ripoff, and sometimes it's a lesson about life, right? You can't always get what you want. And you never know. It might just be something else that you might be interested in. Trying to find different ways of communicating. I oftentimes will make videos and I'll say, I'm trying to return some balance to the force, right? Like if I make a video I made a video that was critical of the work of Jay Essex. And then following that, I went out of my way to make a video talking about my beliefs in the legitimacy of certain aspects of New Age spirituality and psychic phenomena to return balance to the force and feel as though I was giving, my whole truth and not just, some abstracted, stilted version thereof. Okay? So sometimes the analytical language, sometimes the analytical style achieves a purpose, but sometimes, it hurts. It's cutting, it's biting, it's critical, it's divisive to some degree, many times. So trying to find different ways of communicating is important to me as well, okay? And that I utilize different paints and paintbrushes, different techniques to show you what's going on inside, right? So what we're going to do today... okay, so I think we get that. Okay, so there we go. So what are we going to do today? Today I'm going to communicate to you by sharing with you, by kind of doing a spoken word interpretation of an amazing song by an amazing group. The song is called the Turtle Song, okay? Right, I feel like a period, right? Just leave it there. And the band that performed the song was a band called Hugo Largo, okay? It's a great song. It's a beautiful song, and when I was listening to it a couple of days ago, I realized how much it kind of really, in its simplicity, struck upon or spoke to so many things. Now I gotta check for a booger. I think we're good. I think we're okay. It happens. What are you gonna do? Life is life. It's Turtle Song by a band called Hugo Largo. The reason I picked the song is that I was listening to it and the lyrics struck me, and I said, wow, that really hits on a feeling and an emotion and a mood and a sentiment that I really felt the resonance to. And I felt it was really at this particular time expressed and would allow me to communicate or talk about a real feeling that I'm having about this channel and my YouTube experience. But it would do so, it would allow me to communicate in a way maybe that wasn't so black and white or was abstract enough that I could be emotionally revealing, but because it's lyrics of somebody else and because they're abstract, I could also feel that a certain amount of coverage. And the coverage is not only for me, I guess the coverage is for you too, because you can choose to appreciate it just as a spoken word performance, or you can, and in doing so, kind of, shield yourself from any energy, or you can just, dive in and interpret as well. On the subject of different videos on this channel, I think it's very important to let you know that the stuff that I talk about with the conspiracy stuff and the New Age stuff and all that stuff, and it is stuff, it's subject matter, right? While some of it and most of it, and we can think of those things as being important, it's very important that you know that they're important, but not so important as to be the only thing that someone should think about, really. You may only have one trip around this great big blue marble. You may get more. If you just have the one, I would think that you would want to spend some time doing things other than being worried or upset about what's going to happen tomorrow, especially because many things that are going to happen tomorrow are totally and 100% out of our control. Intro to the subject matter. The song is called The Turtle Song. The band, this band is called Hugo Largo. Okay? And, wow. Who were they? Okay, I got some notes here, you know what I mean? So, who were they? They were a band out of New York from about, I guess they were mostly active from about 1987 to about 1990. They had a reformation with a slightly different lineup later on, but for the most part, what set Hugo Largo apart was a very unique singer and a very unique instrumental palette. Hugo Largo had 2 bass players, an electric violin, and no drummer, creating a very unique, pastoral, folksy kind of ambient sound. But they were also complemented by an a really avant-garde female singer by the name of Mimi Gossi is how I pronounce her last name. I pronounce the name Gossi, though it might very well be that her name is Mimi Goose. For some reason, sometimes I have this tendency to abstract or really develop really extremely bizarre pronunciations of people's last names or bands' names. You know what I mean? I call them Autekra. And when I say Autekra, a lot of people will be like, who you won't recognize the band that I'm talking about because no one pronounces their name that way. Usually they call them Maudiker, but that's an aside. Also, there's an electronic composer by the name of people generally call him Vangelis. For whatever reason, I call him Vangelis. What do I mean for whatever reason? It's not for whatever reason that I call Vangelis Vangelis. It's for a very important reason that I call Vangelis Vangelis. Because I remember Mothra. And the opportunity to remember Mothra is a pleasant one. And I take it. Mimi was joined by the electric violinist Han Rowe, a very fascinating instrumental musician who, if you have the opportunity, add him on Facebook because he's a truly unique Facebook provider. He will not waste your time with old photos. He will complement your life with old ancient photos, landscapes, and amazing stuff. Han Rowe, amazing composer. I later on... Interesting enough, Han Rowe, the violinist, was later on very active in the electronic music, techno scene in New York in the mid-'90s that I was involved in. And it was very interesting to me to see him again on stage and be like, oh, I recognize that guy from where? Oh, God damn, now he's doing techno, whatever. He was involved in the Olympian scene. He played a lot with a band called Bizarre. I don't know. He's a very prolific guy. There was also a member of the band named Tim Summers, who many people remember because he later went on to be, he was also a reporter, a journalist, and he also later on became a MTV VJ for a while. Tim Summers was in this band, Hugo Largo, and they also had another bass player by the name of Adam Peacock. Okay? And where did I hear about Hugo Largo? As I'm going to be wandering all over the place with notes. Okay? And we're going to get to where we're going when we get there. Where did I learn about Hugo Largo? I learned about Hugo Largo in a magazine called Bass Player. It must have been one of the first, if not the first issue of Bass Player. And the minute it came out, I was a young man. I was, 13, 14 years old in 1989 or 90 when the first issue would have come up. And Bass Player magazine, wow. In the beginning, the first couple of issues were just so important to me in my life because they turned me on to such incredibly great musicians. The Bass Player magazine had a very wide editorial gambit, and they would cover a lot of different things within the context. Yeah, I guess you deal with a very kind of limited niche audience of bass players. I guess you got to spread it out as best you can. It was in Bass Player magazine that I learned about Hugo Largo. It was in Bass Player magazine that I learned about a very prolific bass player by the name and producer by the name of Bill Laswell. Bill Laswell turned me on. That article about Bill Laswell in Bass Player magazine, turned me on to also Parliament Funkadelic. I mean, Bill Laswell is one of these connection points. He's one of these nexuses of connection. He played bass on Ambient 4 on Land by Brian Eno, right? Bill Laswell produced Rocket by Herbie Hancock. Remember Rocket? Yeah, he was the nexus point of a lot of different things. So it turned me on to John Zorn's Skronk avant-garde Naked City jazz. It turned me on to Parliament Funkadelic in a real way, and the underground, the Meters. There were just so many bands that he was connected to. That was also in Bass Player magazine. I learned about the bass playing of Kim Gordon from Sonic Youth. Like I said, Bass Player magazine had a very wide editorial gambit. If anyone knows Kim Gordon, she's not really a technical bass player. She's not one you might think of being covered or talked about in a musician's magazine. But they actively engaged with her, and her kind of, I guess, for want of a better word, feminist stance on bass playing, which was a boon to me and greatly informative to me. I also learned about great jazz players like Charlie Hayden, which then would connect me to the music of Ornette Coleman. Great magazine in the beginning. What happened to Bass Player magazine is what happened to bass in the 90s, right? Everything, we blinked our eyes, and circa 1992, 93, a great wave of, funk metal just kind of washed away all other a lot of the other content in Bass Player magazine. You know, no disrespect to the bass playing of Flea or fusion players like Victor Wooten or Les Claypool. That's all great, well, good and stuff, but it just all of a sudden, you know, everything became, you know, schlabba bass, and that's where I kind of tuned out with Bass Player magazine, and when it became more and more about, you know, just musicianship, and the editorial, you know, the people that were covered became, you know, less and less exciting to me. I just kind of tuned out and moved on with my life. Conroe, check him out. The Turtle Song. Mimi Gosei was an avant-garde singer. Almost more of a performance artist. Kind of think of like you know, kind of like almost like Meredith Monk in a rock band. It was really, really an interesting. She's got a very interesting style, an amazing range, and I cannot do it justice at all. Everyone knows I love to try and sing. Everyone here knows that I really can't. Just want to make sure we're recording, but I'm doing this to make sure that I don't stare at myself and not at you. Okay, so we're going to do the Turtle Song now. And like I said, I'm just going to kind of do a spoken word take on it, because there's no way in hell that I can do it justice, though there's a deep part of me that says to myself right now at this moment, fuck it, go for it. Right? Give it your all. No, let's just give it our all in a spoken word sense. Okay? That turtle could be a rock in disguise, fooling everyone. You know, only Indians can tell for sure. They're so smart. They could just touch the dirt and feel it move. See, that excites me. And that's exciting to me. That excites me, and it makes me think. You know, I remember when I was young, I remember being young and wanting to be a cheetah. Because they're so fast and strong, right? With only meat on their bones. Right? Don't worry, this is me. I'm the cheetah now, coming at you. I'm going to get you friskies. Fast and strong. You got to watch them sometimes. If you get the chance. And that excites me. You know, and that's exciting to me. That excites me, and it makes me wish that I was somewhere else, thinking someone else's thoughts, and not hollering from inside a deep well. The echo is big in here. Hell. Hello? 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 That reminds me. I'm inviting you. That reminds me to invite you to. Where? A deep well. Listen, hollering from inside a deep well. Because I was somewhere else. And I was thinking someone else's thoughts. And not hollering. Hollering from inside a deep well. Hollering from inside a deep well. Hello?